Hi, welcome back to On the Volley, or as we also know, OTV. I'm here today with John, otherwise known as Geordie John, so you can guess which football club he supports. And we've just watched the Arsenal versus Newcastle game, which ended up 2-0 to Arsenal. Obviously Newcastle in the news a lot at the moment with the big takeover. Haven't picked up that many points since that takeover. 1 point from the 3 games since then. It's 3 games or 4 games now actually. 4 games. Four games since then. Bottom of the Premier League. John, I mean, obviously there's a great optimism after getting rid of Ashley, who nobody liked, including myself, being a token Geordie sometimes. What are you feeling now after these 4 games? Is it?
Well, I mean, the optimism is a long-term optimism. It's optimism for what's going to happen in the next 5 years, maybe. Right now, in the short term, things are looking pretty bad, quite honestly. I mean, we've got a new manager in now, which is great, and he seems to be, I think he's going to be good for Newcastle. But the question mark over whether or not we can survive this season is growing into a bigger and bigger question mark as every week goes by. It's 13 games now without a win.
5 points off Leeds at the moment, who've got a game in hand now as well, which is the late game today. Against Brighton away.
Well, we could well finish this weekend 8 points off the safety zone, and you see, what's really important for Newcastle now is that we've got about a month left until the transfer window opens. Yeah, just about a month before the transfer window, and we could still be bottom of the league by the end of this year, and that makes things a little bit more difficult. You know?
Well, you talk about basically having a half season here to recover from the early season lull, basically, which is now 6 points from 13 games.
Yeah.
You know, you're going to maybe, by the time we arrive in January, it's going to be halfway through the season.
Yeah.
You've got a difficult Christmas period, so. It's at the moment it's not looking great for Newcastle.
It's not. You see, in January, finally we've got a bit of money to spend, which we've never had for years. You know, the previous owner never put money in to buy players. Now we've got some money, but we need to buy players in January who are going to hit the ground running and save this club from relegation. Now we need players who will be interested in coming to this club, not as a club that's, you know, already destined to be in the Championship next season. We want players who at least think that we've got a chance of surviving this season. Now, you know, to get out of the relegation zone by January is going to take quite a feat from Newcastle United at this point. We're going to need to go on a real good run of results just to get out of the relegation zone by January.
You've got Norwich coming up, which is at home, which is kind of like a midweek game actually. So
it's winnable. It's winnable, but that's not enough.
But I think that game really is now kind of key to being outside of that relegation zone, perhaps by January. But if it's really just keeping in contention with 4th bottom here, isn't it? At the moment.
Yes.
It's you know, not being too far behind, but it's unachievable to catch up, I guess.
That's right. Yeah. Being in contention with 4th bottom, you put it rightly. You know, being not too distant from safety. I mean, let's give it a worst case scenario. Say we lose the next 4 or 5 games. You know, we're going to be really adrift at that point. So even those 4 or 5 players that you want to try and stabilise the team and keep us from relegation, they're going to be sort of scratching their chins in January and thinking, do I really want to go there?
Yeah, do I want to be a Championship player perhaps next year?
Well, that's what they could well be looking at, yeah. So
it's about attracting the right players to the club, basically, isn't it? It's you know, being able to make those signings that you need to make in January. to get survival.
Yeah.
I mean, City were in this position when they were taking over. They were in the bottom three, and in the January transfer window they bought famously Robinho, but I think actually that's kind of like the false dawn.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to do that.
No, but what they did buy was Geordie John, who solidified the midfield. Which actually, looking at today's games, we just watched that today. That is one position that Newcastle do lack. I think they're lacking midfield. It's like it's too quick to go from front to back. They get played right through, don't they?
Today's game, as usual, we spent most of the game in our own half. All right, it's nice to see, since Eddie Howe has become the manager, it's nice to see the team is playing better together, more as a unit, more organised and more attacking, which is key. We're capable of scoring goals, but we're still pinned in our own half. Against a team like Arsenal, okay, Arsenal, they're a very, very good team. They're not the team that they were a few years ago. They're kind of also rise. They're not going to finish in the top 3 or 4 this season. But still, we went to the Emirates today knowing that we weren't going to win, knowing that we would probably lose. And if you go to the Emirates in today's world, today's Arsenal, and you still don't feel like you have a hope in hell of winning, then you're really in a bad situation.
I mean, Arsenal have been much improved from the early part of the season. I mean, we lost 4 the last time out, won today, but I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't be too critical about Newcastle going to Arsenal. I don't think those are the games that Newcastle are looking at to win. I think the home game against Norwich, definitely, that is a must-win game for Newcastle.
As a Newcastle fan, I would love us to go out and try and win against everybody. But in recent years, we've kind of got used to the fact that most of the time we go out there and play for a draw. Even against teams that are on par with us, we go out and play for a draw. So
I think that's turned around a bit now. I think I like how I've already said this before that I like Howe's management because he is a guy who does go after a game. He's not like Steve Bruce.
No.
And there's definitely been, we were talking just before, a steady improvement from when Bruce was sacked to now. And certainly the game last week against Brentford, where there was a lot more attacking intent. The players seem to be more comfortable in their own skin, playing.
There's a visible improvement on the pitch, but it has not turned into results yet, and that makes you question how long will it take to turn that into results. It's been, I think 3 games since Bruce got.
So it's the Tottenham game. Tottenham game, he was still in charge. Sorry.
Right, sorry.
That was after the takeover.
And then Eddie Howe's first game, of course, he was out with COVID. Graham Jones, who came to Newcastle as a coach last season and immediately made a difference. And a lot of Newcastle supporters wanted him to take over as manager as far back as last season because he was clearly the brains of the operation, working under Steve Bruce. And when Steve Bruce went, he was given, I think, two, maybe 3 games to be an interim manager. Couldn't get a win. Now we've got a new manager. He spent his first game out with COVID. So actually there's a little bit of water under the bridge since Steve Bruce left, and we still haven't got a win. And that just shows you how big the task is.
Yeah.
Because it's all well and good getting rid of the crux of the problem. Bruce was gone. We had Graham Jones making the team play better. Now we've got Eddie Howe and his staff in charge, and the difference on the pitch is visible. But we still can't get a win, and we're creeping further and further away from safety.
But the Emirates is a difficult place to go for any team, especially when you're suffering a bit of a confidence crisis, which I'm sure they are. Newcastle, not having won all season. But yeah, I think unfortunately, I've got a very difficult Christmas period as well. I think you've got Liverpool in there, you've got City in there. It's not going to get any easier apart from midweek maybe against Norwich. But then Norwich are a team also fighting down there.
They're fighting.
So
there's no guarantee. Yeah. I mean, that's probably the most winnable game. But as you say, they're going to be fighting tooth and nail. And even if we do beat them, we're still going to be bottom of the league. So there's a long way to go to try and make this look like a respectable team by January that half decent players want to come to. And the players that we sign in January, to be fair, no disrespect, but the players that we sign in January are going to be players that we sign to try and keep us out of the relegation zone. No, I think we need to. I think Eddie Howe will stabilise the team. He will give a bit of optimism to the team and the fans. I think we might well still be in the relegation zone by the end of the year. I think we probably will, to be honest, be in the relegation zone by the end of the year. But if they can convince some solid players to come to the club with the objective this season of staying in the Premier League, and players who aren't just solid mid-table players, but players who feel that they've got a bit of ambition, they could be some part of something bigger, then we might just be all right. Our first objective is to escape relegation, and so we need to sign players who are going to do that for us. But at the same time, we would like to sign players who could potentially be with us for the long term. We don't want to sign players like we've done when we've been relegated twice in the Premier League era. We've signed players just to get us out of the Championship and then got rid of them immediately. We want to attract Premier League quality players who don't feel that they're going to be playing in the Championship next season and feel that they might have a chance of still being part of this team in 3 or 4 years' time when hopefully we'll be
knocking on the door
at
the top of the Premier League,
exactly.
But at the trap door at the bottom.
In order to attract those players, you have to have a modicum of a product to begin with. If we are at the bottom of the table, 15 points off safety, doomed for relegation, then you're going to get mercenary players at that point. You're going to get players in the autumn years of their careers just looking for a paycheck.
Yeah.
And we need players who are going to hit the ground running, who can really save the team.
Young players as well. I mean, really. I know Joe Willock and who's obviously signed from Arsenal, has come in. I think Newcastle in the past have been nurturing players and then offloading them.
Yeah.
So it seems like you've got the network there to get in talent because you've done it previously, but then you've had to offload them when they've developed into better talents. So it does seem like Newcastle have got that connection across.
I'm not so
Europe,
sure.
Maybe
I'm not so sure. We have a network that has been thus far structured to buy young, cheap talent, give them a year or two in the Premier League, and if they come good, sell them for a massive profit. What we really need is some strong heads, So there's a bit of there's something two things that have to play off each other here. We want some players that have got a future, so not too old, who can feel that they might be a part of the team in the next 5 years, but we also need some experienced heads on their shoulders who can come into the team in January and hit the ground running, players with Premier League experience hopefully, who can really guide this team to Premier League survival this year. This year. So
have you got your eye on any particular players that I heard this talk about this exodus from Manchester United and Newcastle side, like Lingard and people like that. Is there anyone particular that you think is close to like being on Newcastle's hit list, if you like?
To be honest, I'm not going to name specific names, but I would rather we didn't try and pick up players from the top teams who can't get into the team where they are. The likes of Lingard. I mean, he's a great player. I love to see him at Newcastle.
He was great on loan for West Ham at the end of last season.
Yeah.
Turned it around for them in a way. Got them into Europe.
But I think I'd rather have players who have got a lot of Premier League time under their belts. You know, a lot of players who played first team football for teams that have remained in the Premier League for a period of time. You know, sort of mid-table, stable players that you can rely on, who know what they're doing.
I mean, to be honest, you know, you've got Shah and Lacazette at the back. They were, I think, two decent centre backs. I mean, decent experience. Do you think that it's defence that they're lacking, or do you think it's midfield, or do you think it's attack?
To be honest, I think, you know, individually we've got a lot of good players, but they haven't really played well since the Benitez era. I look at each of those, the players that you just mentioned, Lascelles, for example, and Fabian Schär. They're great on their day, but we still seem to have a leaky defence. And I think to fix that, we do need to spend some serious money on, you know, a centre half that is guaranteed not just to be a good quality player, but to try and organise the defence. I think we need more leaders on the pitch. This is one.
I think that is definitely something you lack. I think, you know,
we lack
a leader.
We lack that because for years the club has had this policy of buying young players and then selling them on. We need some players that are, you know, between the sort of 28 and 32 years old sort of mark, who've got a good few years of Premier League experience, possibly even captaincy experience, you know, possibly, you know, players that can really come in and organise a team from the pitch. And I think players like Lascelles and Schär and we've got a lot of players there who could play a lot better if they were organised better. The trick is finding those nuggets with Premier League experience, and they wouldn't even cost too much, but you've got to find the right ones who can come in and make an impression immediately. You know, because it's going to be a tough slog to get out of the relegation zone. I think it's really going to be a tough battle. Yeah. And these players who come in need to have faith that we can do that. We can't just buy players who are coming for the paycheck.
You're not going to buy a new starting 11, are you? So
no.
They're going to have to augment basically what's already there. You know, and in certain areas you've got a good base, but I think, you know, in certain areas you're really lacking.
This is the trick with Newcastle. We've got some good players. We've got a team that shouldn't really be relegated on paper. But the bottom of the league now at the end of November, and we need to really sign the right players in January. Sign the right players that are ready for a fight, for this long, slow fight to get us out of the relegation zone. And I think it's a bit more serious than a lot of people imagine. You know, people think that we're just going to go out in January and spend 500 million quid on all the best players in the world. We'll be fine. It's not going to be like that.
It's not going to be like
that. We need to find the right players.
Won't want to come to a relegation dogfight.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We need to find relegation dogfight players who are ready to hit the ground running, but also who feel that they can possibly be a part of this team going forward. So that's quite a niche. And maybe Eddie Howe and his team have an idea of who those players can be. The scouting structure that's already at the club probably isn't prepared for that, but you know, it's not that hard for the likes of Eddie Howe, I think, to identify the right players. And I just think that if they can pick up a few points before January and make it look like this is a team that's on the up, then
every point between now and January is super important.
This could be one of the most important periods of the new era of Newcastle United.
Yes.
Because if it all goes pear-shaped right now, and we end up the richest club in the world in the Championship, You know, I mean, it's really
where there are a lot stricter financial fair play rules than there are in the Premier League, and also obviously not a lot as much finance. No, well, thank you very much. Thank you very much for your thoughts.
Cheers.
Obviously, wish Newcastle the best. So I say, kind of honorary Geordie and been lived there for a couple of years. So yeah, good luck to Newcastle getting out of this relegation battle and hopefully win sometime soon.
Cheers.
Thanks very much, John. Thank you very much.
All right, man.
And from me and John, Geordie John, that's us out.